Focus. And get rid of that. Okay.
Okay.
Say it again. I wasn't really paying attention. William.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not Bill, not Robert.
Bill
just
is fine.
William. Okay.
Bill is fine too.
So, doctor, talk to me about why did you become a doctor to begin with? Just take me down that path. A little
So that's a long, convoluted story.
Give me the.
I'll give you the brief
yeah.
overview. So my first intention was to become a lawyer. So my father happens to be a physician, has a lot of friends who are attorneys who indoctrinated me against becoming an attorney. So I ended up going to medical school, and that's how I became a doctor.
So, what do you love about it?
I think the biggest, if you'd asked me this question 20 years ago when I first started, my answer would have been radically different than it is today.
What was it 20 years ago?
20 years ago would be, I wanted to impact patients' lives, save lives, make people feel better. And part of that is still true today. But what I've come to realize in the last 20 years is that what my job is to do is to provide guidance, to provide counseling, to provide recommendations. I can't make people do what they need to do to fix their health. And if you'd asked me that 20 years ago, I'm like, no, I'm going to tell them this and they're going to do this. Right. And that just doesn't work because you're dealing with human beings. So I have now kind of embraced the idea that I'm of a person who gives people proper information,
right,
and kind of lets them make their own decision how they want to impact their health care.
So, like you can't prescribe me something to stop smoking. I kind of have to do it on my own too.
Absolutely. And,
that's your point, right?
Yes, absolutely. One of my favorite sayings, and my wife and son will tell you that I say it all the time, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So that's what it is. That's what medicine is. That's what anything is.
So, you could have opened a pharmacy.
Correct.
Right? You could help a lot more people that way. There's a lot more prescriptions that you don't have to deal with all this political stuff.
Right. Absolutely.
So why this?
So my practice, I'm from Cleveland, and my practice is in Summit County. And if you know anything about the opioid epidemic, Summit County was one of the epicenters, and still is one of the epicenters for the opioid crisis, not just in the state, but nationwide.
Right.
So I've actually had patients who have passed away from overdose. I've had families impacted by their family members passing away from overdose. So that is really what was the motivation for me to start looking into this. I started looking into this back when Colorado first legalized it from a medical perspective, to see how it affected patients with chronic pain, what happened to the narcotic burden in that state. Did it go down? Did it go up? Did it stay the same? And what I found was that patients were reporting better efficacy, better symptom control, and there was decreased use of narcotics to treat pain. So that really got me thinking that maybe this is a viable alternative to our Vicodins and Percocets and OxyContin to treat patients. The other side of the coin of this is that throughout literature, throughout everything that we've studied and looked at with marijuana use, there's never been a reported death from overdose directly linked to marijuana use. So when you combine those two things, it makes logical sense to look at this as a viable alternative.
So what do you say to the people who go, oh, you're just promoting people to get high?
I think that's the biggest misnomer that you can make, and I think that's the biggest fallacy that surrounds this industry, is that we're giving medication to give that euphoric effect. That's not the case at all. And in fact, when you look at the preparations that are specifically geared toward, for example, chronic pain, the THC content is very low. It's a CBD component, and we know that CBD does not cause that euphoric effect.
So, where do you go from here? Is it getting on to the federal level and say, gosh, you got to get this not illegal anymore?
I agree.
Or is it just keep going with what you're doing?
No, I mean, my personal goal is to get this legalized at the national level so that we can open up more avenues for research. Until we actually look at, from a scientific standpoint, in-depth, detailed, at the molecular level, at the body level, what is this doing? How is it benefiting people? And is there a role for it, an expanded role for it in medicine? You're not going to have the true picture. So the only way that's going to happen is with legalization.
Is there something, let me maybe take it a step this way. I'm trying to keep that parking sign out of the shot.
No problem.
Is there something for someone to get involved? Is this wide open in the state that where, you know what, I'm going to get involved besides applying for a job?
Sure.
Here. Or is it just that tightly regulated?
It's extremely tightly regulated. They have not added any new licenses. I don't know what that process is going to be, when that process is going to happen. And who knows? I don't know the answer to that question. I can tell you as of today, no new people can enter into this market.
Wow. So are you putting yourself out there, risking your career, your word? I mean, the feds, if they want to, they could come crash this tonight.
Absolutely. And it's a risk, and it was a calculated, educated risk that I took. But at the end of the day, why am I doing this? Why did I go into medicine? And at the end of the day, it's to help people. And if this is a safe, effective way of helping people, helping our patients, then I'm all for it.
What would you, you got a decent line here, but they don't look in pain. It's kind of like you see someone park here.
Sure.
You know, they can't walk
Right.
100 yards, but they can walk 50 before
Right.
they get in the stroller thing.
Right.
So is it just hard to look at someone and know that they're in pain?
Of course, because they could be on medication right now. How would you know that, right? It's like your patient who's depressed, and you talk to them. Do you know they're depressed? No. They may be on medication. They may not be exhibiting symptoms or signs at that particular moment in time. And you see that. You see that, we call it waxing and waning of symptoms. And that's very normal and a common part of medicine.
Wow. What am I not asking is you personally, whether it's your dad or brother, uncle, whatever you are, what is it that drives you?
Again, it comes back to one thing and one thing only: doing the best I can by patients and trying to provide them the best care, quality care. So at the end of the day, like I said, it's about taking care of people.
Yeah.
But taking care of people means, what does that exactly mean? Well, my goal is to improve everybody's quality of life. If I can give you a day pain-free without taking a narcotic, I've done my job. That's what I'm here for, and that's why I got into this industry, and that's why I got into medicine in the first place.
I think that's it.
Okay.
I don't think I have